ladies, and welcome to my channel. My name is Aisha, aka Nurse Aisha. I'm a registered nurse here to spread awareness on preventative health and lifestyle choices for us women. That is my focus, so you can lead a more informed and healthier life. Welcome to this episode of Nurse Aisha. I have a very important guest here today, my very first guest, Oumie Njai, aka Ella Gambia, here on YouTube. If you haven't checked out her channel, make sure that you do. Also, do not forget to subscribe, like, and share this content so we can grow on this channel. So, without further ado, welcome to my channel, Oumie.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for coming. You are someone that I've wanted to interview on my channel. So you've become my very first guest.
Oh, and I'm so honored. I'm so honored, and it's so lovely hearing your intro and what you work with.
Yeah. And you have a very important journey behind you that I've been very, very fortunate to be part of and see you grow as an entrepreneur, as a woman. So for those of you that don't know, Ella, you specialize in hair. Mm-hmm. You make wigs and you make us look beautiful. You serve us and make us also feel beautiful. And that is the main focus for your entrepreneurship and for your brand, Hair and Ella, right?
Yes.
So tell us more about that.
All right. Thank you, Aisha, like I said, and beautifully put. I felt like growing up in Sweden, we had only these beauty supply stores to shop with. Yeah. And we were buying like hair that did not last as long as, you know, we know it could. And I felt like we as women of color also should experience luxury hair or top tier luxury hair. And there was a gap in the market, and that's where I found my niche.
Yes, and your space. You filled the gap for us women. Thank you so much for that. So when you talk about your brand, you talk about how you wanted to specialize in hair extensions and provide us customers the best hair extensions so we can show up as our best self. Now, we know that hair is very much linked to beauty, but our hair, especially as women of color and Black women, is very much linked to health as well. How do you see this in your customers and the people that you serve?
Yeah, that's such an interesting and important aspect. Because when I first started, I had clients talking down on their hair. They would come to me and telling me, oh, I don't like this hair. So they were just trying to cover up. Yes. And there were issues about, you know, self-esteem. I know a lot of them maybe were lacking edges or, you know, it could be something. They did not like their hair. A lot of them said that their hair looked like...
steel wool.
Yes, steel wool, for example. And that was something that I wanted to change. I wanted to change the narrative that we use when we're talking about our hair, because we heard it over and over and over again. But if we keep it alive, we're going to pass it down to our kids as well. Yes. And now with all the information that we have and all the knowledge, we know that there's a lot of things that we can do for ourselves and for our hair to make it grow. And we also like live in a climate that is not so, you know, good for our own natural hair. So we have to have the knowledge to,
Yes. So when we're talking about this, we're not only talking about hair extensions, we're talking about our natural Afro hair.
Yes.
And also you had a workshop. I was fortunate enough to attend one of your workshops, and when you informed us, gave us so much history about our Afro hair, and then went over to the history all the way from slavery and from the US, because most of us are influenced by what comes from the United States of America and the history there and our hair. And then you go all into your business and what you want to achieve with your business. And so when it comes to confidence. You talked about self-esteem and the environment. So when we are talking about these things, we're talking about how this environment, being in the Swedish environment, and how that doesn't really serve our hair. So when we are trying to work with our hair, we protect our hair. And that is what you're working with, how to protect our hair in the best way. And your clients, how do you encourage them to not only take care of their wigs and extensions, but also their natural hair?
So I encourage my clients to take care of their hair by explaining to them. I'll give them as much knowledge as I can, because it's not a one solution fix all. For some people, wigs are not maybe it, or hair extensions are not it, but you have to work with what you have in order to make your hair grow, for example. If that's
so hair knowledge.
Yeah, exactly. Hair knowledge is so important. So you have to understand that, okay, if your 5 friends uses pink oil moisturizer, maybe that's not for you. It's not made for your hair. You have to understand how you work and how your hair functions in order.
And that's very important, because I do remember that really resonated with me, the hair knowledge and knowing your hair type, your hair structure.
Exactly.
And when you know that, you can choose what is best for you.
Exactly.
So if we're to just acknowledge that you are wearing something maybe that I cannot wear. I'm not a wiggy. That's a fact that I know very much. So we don't have the same criteria or the same ambitions towards how to protect our hair in this environment. I love that. I love when you said that. So what are the different types of hair, and how important is it? We talked about it. It is very important to know, so that you can take care of it and protect it from what is it that we're protecting our hair from?
I mean, first of all, I can just start when we are sleeping, for example, and you wear your natural hair. It's very important to know that our Afro hair needs a lot of moisture. Otherwise, it can get very dry and brittle and break. So we want to protect that by retaining as much moisture as we can. So when you're sleeping on ordinary cotton pillowcases, it will suck the moisture out of your hair. So by using maybe a satin bonnet, or the best is actually silk, that way you can protect your hair. If you don't like wearing bonnets or silk, you can actually get a satin or silk pillowcase, for example. But you're also protecting your hair from the environment, for example. I mean, we're going towards colder climate.
Season,
And also the water. The water in Sweden, we have something called hard and soft water. Exactly. And it contains different chemicals and stuff like that, minerals and stuff that can also affect our hair. So there's a lot of different stuff, a lot of like pollutions and
elements.
Exactly. That can, So when you're wearing a wig, for example, or hair extensions, you want to be mindful that it should protect your natural hair. So you don't want to add damage to it.
So basically, when we are protecting our hair from elements and also other things that can pull and strain our hair strands. So when you're choosing, or when someone is choosing how to protect their hair, so what would you recommend? How do you recommend it? Can you do it over the phone, that I believe this is the best hair for you and this is best hairstyle for you?
Both yes and no. over the phone, because I feel I would like to see what we're working with first,
Yes.
because everyone has different circumstances that we're working with. So, first of all, I want to know about your needs.
Yes.
That's number one. What do you want to achieve?
Yeah.
Is it like maybe you train a lot, maybe you have to wash your hair a lot? It could be so many different factors. So we have to talk about your needs first, and how your hair routine looks like.
Yes.
Do you even have a hair routine?
Yeah.
Stuff like that, to being able to give you the best advice.
Yes. Because what I want to hear, or what I've heard a lot, is that the different styles that are in fashion, that you have to braid your hair a certain way, or you can do cornrows, when cornrows was in style, and Alicia Keys inspired us to have cornrows. Like, can everybody have those styles that are in fashion at that given moment?
I want to say both yes and no, depending on how your hair quality is.
Yes.
Because, if you have like very damaged follicles, I don't think like getting cornrows or like tight cornrows and is not maybe the smartest thing to do. But also nowadays, we all seen that you can take like a frontal and put it in the front and not add like a lot of tension. But it also depends on who is doing your hair.
Yes, very important, because I've had so many hairstylists or hairdressers along the way. So I feel like a lot of hairdressers actually damage our hair when they get us on this stylish or these fashions that are in, in for that moment. Because going back to hair knowledge, I know that I have very thin hair strands, and I cannot do box braids, for instance. I know that really drains my hair of its moisture, like you said. And if I do that for a long period of time, I'll go bald, which will affect my self-esteem. So again, very important with hair knowledge. What would you say to someone that is always hopping on the new styles and wearing the heavy wigs, perhaps, and things that will...
I would say be very mindful. First of all, like going back to what is it that you want to achieve, because you can't hop on any and every trend.
Many people just want to look cute.
And I mean there's pros and cons with everything. There's pros with using wigs, because then you can change your hair color every day.
You don't have to. It's just not for me.
That's some of the pros, but also the cons is, if you're continuing using, for example, glue on your skin and you have sensitive skin, I've seen so many people with like damaged skin because they don't maybe know what to do and how to do it. So I feel like, first of all, you can't hop on every trend, but also you have to have the knowledge. The knowledge is very important, both as a client, and don't be afraid to tell the person who's doing your hair. Like, tell them. Don't
stay quiet.
That
is so important. Because I feel like this is something that we all fear. And when we go back to, in your workshop, you talked about sitting, as a child, sitting in between, these aunties' thighs, and, just going with the flow, pulling your hair. And, how we've come so long, we've come so far, that shouldn't be a problem.
Exactly.
Like, if I go into hairdressers and they want me to straighten my hair, that doesn't work for me, which we have seen very much. How is that? Like, we have different needs, like you said. Are we supposed to accept this? Can you tell them? Are we supposed to accept this?
No.
I've seen so many, not movies, but stories where they really push that or show us how that can work. That you go in to get something done, but then you're pushed onto something else. How can we address this?
First of all, knowing what you want and staying firm. But it's also important to take in information and also tell what you want to do. So for example, what I do when I have new clients, if you came to me like a long time, I know your needs. But as a new client, the first thing that we always do is take a moment where we have a consultation. So I go through what you want. If you have pictures, and in your form, when you're booked with me, I also have information that you give me. So I ask for specific information. So after that, I look at your hair, and I'm always honest. Like, I'm going to tell you, like, I don't think this is something that you can wear at this moment. Maybe you want like a style, you want maybe like a side part with leave out. And if I see that your hair can't be left out, I'm going to tell you, because it's not going to look cute. You're not going to be happy. And, we have a idea in our head that we just, I want to look like Beyonce, for example, with this hair color. But maybe that hair color won't suit you. So we're going to talk about that. But as a client as well, it's very important that if you see that your hairstylist is starting to do something, or she's pulling too tight, I mean, tell her. And if you are a hairstylist that wants the best for your clients, you will listen, and you won't take it personal, because you're here to serve someone. So that's how I see it.
Going back to that same experience with the aunties, you said in your workshop that you didn't want your girls to experience this. So what are we teaching the girls, the young girl child, about her hair? And how are we talking about her hair? How important is that?
Oh, so important, because it started with my mother couldn't do our hair. So me and my sister were always like passed around to different aunties that she heard were doing hair. And it was always a traumatizing experience. You don't know them, they just sit you between their legs and pull, and like when they want you to turn, they just like, do like
just
that.
Jerk your head around.
Exactly. And I felt like I want to change this. I don't want my daughters to ever know anything like that. So I actually, before I had children, I had my sister's child growing up. So I taught her a lot about her hair, and she even started like a YouTube channel, and her name was Lilam Gambia. But afterwards, when she grew up, she was like, no, people are looking, and so she erased it and deleted it. But she was doing really, really good, and I know that she loved her hair, and like it was fun to get up, take my stuff that I had, spray her hair, do different styles, and always talking positive about the hair. Not like, oh, it's so hard, your hair is so hard. Not embrace it. Embrace it instead of just making it negative.
So when we don't feel good about our hair, when we feel like it's too coarsy, it's nappy, that affects our mental health. How have you seen this play out along the way when you've been in this business, hair business?
I mean, I had clients want to buy wigs on wigs on wigs, back to back, and I'm like, you know what? I'm in business to make money, but I'm also in business to serve. But there has to be a balance. I can't just take your money all the time. Like, you have to realize something. I mean, first of all, it's a lot of money, and you're just throwing money on top of the problem, but you have to really go deep into the root of the problem. So we actually had like a heart-to-heart conversation, and for her to like realize what is it that's behind all of this. And I think it stemmed very, very deeply. She was of mixed race, and her mother didn't know how to take care of her hair. So she was always, passed to different salons and stuff. And growing up, like not really liking her hair, wanting maybe another texture and stuff like that. But I mean, it turned out for the better afterwards. But I feel like you have to have those conversations.
So the expectation of wanting your hair to be something that it's not, which leads to other problems.
Yeah.
Because your hair cannot be straight if it's not straight.
Yeah, exactly.
So embrace the coarse hair. There's so many different hairstyles, but we're all locked into one, like the beauty standard of what hair should look like. And we're saying this, yes, I'm aware we're saying this with wigs on, weaves on, but we have to know the difference between protecting our hair and wanting this type of hair to grow out of our scalps.
Yeah, so, exactly.
Yes.
That's the difference.
Yes.
And I also feel like we've heard that a lot of times. Oh, why do you wear wigs or hair extensions? Just embrace your hair. But we have to understand that we all come from different walks of life.
Yes.
So some people, you're telling them that, and they might not have any edges.
Yes.
So for them to just put like their hair in a ponytail and walk out, it's so much behind that we won't even understand.
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
Maybe like, for example, my dream, I'm like, oh, I want my hair to grow thick. Like that's a dream of mine, to grow thick so I can just put it in a ponytail and walk out. But I also have to remember that I've never had thick hair before. I can get the length, but not maybe the thickness, and also maybe my edges are kind of damaged, and that stems from the people who used to do my hair.
Yes.
From the tension. Yeah.
Yeah. So that is one thing that is the same with me. A lot of people have, especially when it comes to our black hair, our coarse hair. So when you know your hair, you know and what is important to you. Is it the length or is it the thickness? I've given up on the thickness, honestly. I know my hair can grow to some extent long, but that also has a limit. So not having high expectations of your hair and expecting it to be the way that it's not naturally meant to be. So hair expectations is important.
Yes, it is important. And I know, like, for example, I have a cousin who always have had very, very thick hair.
Yeah.
And she felt like, like it's too thick, it's too thick.
Yeah.
And now in a later part of it started to thin out, and she was like, oh, I wish I could have that back.
Aging.
Yeah.
Okay. And we talked about you being a mother. Has that affected your hair? And how's that made you feel?
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yes.
But it never affected my hair in any kind of way. It didn't like grow crazy length and then, just got brittle. And no. I felt like it was the same actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I say this to go into the next question, which is disease and things that can happen and change our hair texture, our hair growth, the way our hair is growing. How have you seen that with your clients?
Yeah.
Do they talk about these different conditions and diseases that affect them? And do they accept the situation?
I know that I've had a lot of clients that did not even know that maybe they were suffering from different kinds of alopecia, because there is like a spectrum of different kinds of alopecia. So when I saw it, I could gently, approach the client and ask them, have you been to the medical?
Yes. Have you been diagnosed?
Yeah, exactly. Have you been diagnosed with
Yes.
this, or have you sought help?
Yes.
And some have never even heard of it. I had one patient that actually caused the
And you just said patient.
No.
You mean a client. But let's talk about patient. That's okay. Yeah. Patients, clients, same.
I had actually one client who
Yeah.
caused the traction or the pulling by herself. So she explained to me that she had some kind of condition where she actually pulled out her hair. and also her eyelashes and stuff.
Okay.
And she attracts. I don't know the name, but
Okay,
I
the
know.
condition,
Yeah,
okay.
it was a condition, and I remember I read about it, and I was like, okay. So I
Mm.
never heard about that before.
Yeah.
Um, so I mean, there's different things, and I've also seen people with like different autoimmune diseases
Yes,
or
that affects
conditions.
the hair texture.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly,
diabetes. Yeah.
exactly. And not only the
So,
hair texture, it also affects like the scalp, the
yes.
condition
Yes.
where the hair is gonna grow. So,
How is it important for you as a hairdresser and other hairdressers out there to know and teach and educate yourself
yeah,
about our hair, not just about the texture, not just about the different courses of our
yeah,
hair, having a 3B or
yeah,
1B hairstyle or
yeah,
type,
yeah, type,
but
yeah.
also about the conditions that affect our hair.
I think it's everything. It's so important. And I remember before I even started going into this hair industry, I was determined to learn about hair. So I
Yeah.
studied hair.
Yes.
I searched for like all the information I could have. Like how is hair, what does it contain of, the keratin, the different layers,
Yeah.
but also the scalp, because if if the conditions of your scalp is not good,
Yes.
you're not giving the hair a optimal, what's it called?
The base.
Yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
so the
Like
foundation of your
exactly
hair.
have to be
Yes.
optimal for the
Yes.
hair to grow, you
Yeah.
know. So you have to, for example, maybe your follicles are clogged, so you have to go through different things to
Yeah.
unclog those follicles so the hair
Yes.
can grow out.
So you have to get to the core issue
Yes.
or the core of what is maybe limiting your hair to grow or to fall out or whatever
Yes.
it could be.
Because
Do they teach that in beauty school? Like when
I
you go
believe so.
They do? They
And
just say-
especially in America. I think
Okay.
like overseas, their beauty school and what they teach them is different. I believe that there are people over here that teach about our type of hair. For example, urban hair. I know she has some, I know like a lot of different
Yes.
Swedish Hair Mafia, for example. She also holds courses and classes. But I know there's a
And
lot
that is
of them.
specifically on Afro hair.
Yes, yes.
That's amazing.
Yes.
Because what I've experienced is that a lot of us talk about hair loss or not having ages and, thinning of the hair, but we don't really talk about the diseases that might be behind this. And then we
Yes.
just hide it. That is something
Exactly.
that really, really I want to talk about. That we hide our issues behind
Yes.
the wigs and behind the different hairstyles and we never reveal it and we suffer in silence.
Yes.
You talked about getting an actual diagnosis which can lead to treatment.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
And this is really important for you guys to know when
Yes.
when you're doing our hair.
Yes. Yes.
Because if someone has a condition already, you might have a different approach
Yes.
to the hairstyle.
For example, that's something that is very dear to my heart, and that's for example if you have psoriasis, and some people have scalp psoriasis. So
Okay.
that will lead the client to have certain,
Reactions.
not really reactions, but you as a hairstylist have to be very careful, because if you pull her or her hair too
Yeah.
tight,
Yeah.
it could actually cause a reaction on her scalp and trigger the psoriasis even
Okay.
more.
All right.
So that could cause like not even just the scalp, because that can create like a chain reaction.
Okay.
So that could make her flare up like everywhere. So that is very important. So for me as a hairstylist, I always look at my client's scalp. Is it healthy, for example?
Yes.
If I see that it's not healthy, I kind of, we're talking about how you can create like a hair routine
Yes.
to keep the environment of your scalp as good as possible, as optimal as possible to create hair growth.
Yes.
And also, if you braid too tight, that can also cause, like for example, a lot of itching.
Yes.
and if you scratch, you create like small damages in the
Yes.
scalp, like
Wounds,
things like,
little
yeah,
wounds,
exactly,
yeah.
wounds. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
This is a really, really important topic to have because we haven't even talked about what shampoo
Yeah.
to choose, what conditioner, should we have conditioner? But the last question that I want to ask you, do we all need hair supplements?
I would say I think that supplements are good, but I also believe that you have to know what
What you're
supplements.
aiming
Yeah,
for.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Because I've tried, when they talk about, oh, eat biotin or do this or do that, and you just try, but maybe
Yeah.
that's not for you.
Yes.
So I think maybe get a second opinion,
Yeah.
seek help, and see what you need for
So
your
not
body.
just over the counter.
I don't know. I don't do it.
No.
I rather eat like food that contains vitamins.
Yeah.
Like for example, I know that I have an iron deficiency.
Yeah.
So for example, for me, it's very important to eat iron, and that directly affects my hair and my hair growth.
Okay.
So that's something.
Yeah,
that-
I have the same issue, but I
Yeah.
haven't noticed anything with my
Yeah.
hair. But I'm so happy that you can come here and talk to us about this because when we don't feel good about ourselves in that in that sense of hair,
Yeah.
we don't feel like we're beautiful. That affects our health.
Most
This is really
definitely.
why I invited you here to talk about this. And thank you so much for taking time this evening, getting away from your family and coming to talk to us.
Thank you,
And
Aisha.
I want to say this was really important for me to talk to you and talk about these issues. And please make sure that you take good care of your hair. And if you have any questions, please make sure that you put them in the comment section. Maybe I can answer them, or I can ask Ella to answer them. And make sure to subscribe, like, and comment on this video. And I hope that you come back. We can talk more because there's so much to uncover.
Yes,
There's
most
so much.
definitely.
Yeah.
Most
Because as a Black woman, I know that it's a topic that comes up all the time, being questioned about
Yes.
your hair, why you're wearing your hair
Yes.
this way. I wore my hair natural this summer, and that's the way I like it when
Yeah.
it's warm and
Yes.
all
Yeah.
cozy outside. I want my hair to be out, but not everybody can do that because of different conditions.
Most definitely.
So these are really important conversations to
Yeah.
have. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Aisha.
Make sure that you also tap into your content. You have really good content on your other platforms, on her Instagram and her TikTok account. I will link them in the description box. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you back on our next episode on Nurse Aisha.